Alright guys, in the following video, I'm going to show you how to use the Revolve tool to create the object on your assignment. The object on your assignment is based off of a simple base kind of object. For what you know thus far and how to use Onshape, you may have some ideas for how to make this. You also may have no idea how to make this. So there's something called the Revolve tool, which is very helpful for kind of these like complex shapes that are symmetrical but have some complex geometry to them. And you're like, okay, you don't know how to do that. But you could totally have ideas for how to do this. I'm just going to show you this tool. I want you guys to know how to use it in case you in the future. But essentially what we're going to do is in Onshape, we're going to create a sketch and we're going to make our sketch. Imagine this is a very straight line. And we're going to sketch out the cross section of this shape. So we're going to create that face right there. Not the whole face, just half the face, because once we have this face here, we can then take that face and we can tell it to revolve around an axis and create a solid. So we're going to take this face and we're going to revolve it around this vertical axis here. Okay. So hopefully you can see my blue line popping on. And this is going to be our axis that we use to revolve that face around. And then it'll create our 3D object. As you can see here, the base is hollow in there. So in the last lesson, you guys learned how to use the shell tool. So at the end, we'll just use the shell tool and you'll see how applicable it is to other types of objects that you might want to make. So essentially, that's our game plan. Let's go ahead and throw it into Onshape. All right, so we're going to start with a blank drawing. Blank document. We're going to go to create a sketch. Remember, everything starts with a sketch, okay? We're going to create a sketch. We're going to select the plane. As you guys know, I typically click the front plane. I like when my view cube has everything like oriented the way I want it. So meaning like I'm going to draw this face standing straight up. But if you draw it on a different face, that's okay. This is just practice. So I'm going to click on the front plane, and then I'm going to toggle over to the front. Right. So now again, as I said, we need to create this face right here, right? And then we need to revolve around this axis. So I'm going to be, lenient with the dimensions on this. But I do want you to follow the video and just try to do what I'm doing. So I'll start with the line. I'm going to draw that axis here. A base, let's say this base is, I drew that line at 3.7. Let's just go ahead and make it 5 inches tall. Why not? So I just drew that line, dimension tool 5. Okay. So right now I just have this vertical line. Now I need to create this interesting curvature shape here, okay? You could do this a number of ways. You could draw lines. You could fillet them, okay? You could make them all curvy like you want. You could do arcs, a series of arcs. I'm going to use the spline tool. If you guys remember from a few assignments ago in your complex sketching practice, I introduced you guys to the spline. All right, the spline is this tool right here in your tool bar in your sketching window. It creates a multi-point curve. So if we select it, I'm going to click the top of this line. So we're kind of snapped to that. And you see you kind of start to drag. Because we are replicating this, I'm just going to try to go out and click. When you use the spline tool, you want to click where you have like inflection points. So I have this one selected. I'm going to come out and click here, come out and click here. And then actually I might click here too. And this may not be like perfect when you do it, and that is okay. I am going to start horizontal and then I will out and then in. Okay, and then we can start to see again using our reference photo. Okay, kind of what we're looking at here. The more clicks you do on your spline, the more custom you're gonna be able to like really make it. At this point, I'm totally okay with you guys starting to, you know, kind of freehand. It doesn't have to look just like mine, but try to at least kind of get that shape. Once I select this bottom line, you're gonna see the spline still continues, okay? If you just hit escape, it'll place it where you last clicked. So that can be confusing. Um, and then as long as your face gets generated, meaning like it shades in, then you're good. Okay, if it doesn't, that means you've got like a disconnect in your line somewhere. So another thing too, if you guys remember with your spline, one of the nice things is these inflection points that you created, you can click and drag. So if you don't like totally love the shape you made, that's the nice thing about the spline tool is that you can modify it. Okay, say on that, I'm like, yeah, that looks a little better. I actually totally forgot to kind of do that, like, um, little indent. So I might try to, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. Because I might have to redraw the whole spline. But you know what? That to me looks good. Looks pretty good. Okay, maybe try to make that more flat. So once I revolve, it's kind of like a flat pattern. Okay, up here, you know, you can massage that around if you'd like. Otherwise, once you feel good about it, go ahead and finish your sketch. Okay, and then you should have this face. So that's gonna literally be the hardest part of this object on this part of your assignment. Now what we need to do is just use the new tool Revolve, which is really actually pretty straightforward to use. When you click on the Revolve tool, which is right here, it looks like a macaroni noodle. It's going to ask you to select the faces and sketch regions to revolve. Okay. That's going to be our face. Okay, that's what we're going to revolve. Okay, once we select it, it'll say faces sketch one. Okay, and then revolve axis is going to highlight in red. This is saying, hey, you need to define what axis to revolve it around. So go ahead and click on that. And then you're going to select that inner axis. Okay, and then you're going to see it go shoop and sweep around. Okay, very cool stuff. So once you feel good about that, you can finish your revolve. And now you've got your shape. All right. If you wanted to hollow this out, okay, you can use the shell tool. You guys don't have to for this part of your assignment. I actually don't know if it would work on that curved top face. But once you have the shape, go ahead and put it in your assignment and you're good to go. Just remember the steps for that revolve, and that can be a really helpful tool for creating objects in the future.